Live. Hey, episode 26 of the Ryan Ripken Show. We are on our way. We kind of have a full house in here right now, to say the least here. We got Brad back on the desk.
Hey.
There he is. In my camera angle, if you noticed, Rocco's back. Rocco DeSangro. Welcome back, Rocco. A little round of applause.
Thanks, guys.
And then if we flip the camera around, we got Zach back again.
Back.
And Parker, or better known as
By a million.
By a million.
Is that it?
Hit the line. Hit the line. Hit the line.
Ravens by a million.
By a milli.
By a million. I was hoping I'd get some entrance music here.
I know. We need to find some entrance
We
music.
do have some like walk-up songs.
Yeah.
That's what we need. We need walk-up songs for sure.
I need a walk-up song here.
Yeah, that's another time. We're gonna have a discussion about what is some of our favorite walk-up songs in general. I think that would be, or for what you want it to be. I told people when I had walk-up songs in professional sports, I was afraid if I sucked that much, I didn't want the song to be associated with my play.
Oh,
right?
That would be rough.
If
you really liked a song and then you just went through what was your walk-up song during your streak?
Oh, so when things went well, I'm a big Calvin Harris guy still. So when things were going well, still some songs. It was "Slide" by Calvin Harris, a song that I like the vibe to. But if I never heard it again, I'm okay.
All
right?
Yeah, I can get with that.
But one I couldn't go away from because we were into thinking about female pop was the thing getting our team going. We sometimes go through different categories. So I didn't want to mess with Fantasy by Mariah Carey because I just love that song. So I couldn't put that on there. Instead, I did a Selena Gomez song. Now is when I hit $180 in Delmarva at home. It was "Come and Get It" by Selena Gomez.
Oh my God. And the pitchers did.
And they did.
They did.
I hit $1
every single time.
I hit $180 in Delmarva and Low A and hit about 300 on the road. That's how the cookie crumbles. But hey, enough about my struggles here. Easy. And enough about what we were talking about earlier. Thank you guys for joining. If you're new to the show, welcome. Hit like, subscribe, all those good things that help us continue to grow. And if you're back again, welcome back. I see Joe in there, Rick. Appreciate you guys as always. But guys, we got a full lineup. And besides, if you're wondering this new setup, yes, that's NBA Jams in the back. That is one of the best arcade games of all time. Might be playing that right after. But we got a new setup, but we still have a lot of spicy topics to get into.
Yes.
So without further ado, should we just jump right in, Brad?
Let's do it. Let's do it, my man.
All right. So, hey, we're going to start with some baseball news. Some information is out now. Let's start with the breaking news on the sense of where teams are heading. And that is Stephen Vogt and Craig Counsell are on the moves. Stephen Vogt is actually going to be making his managerial debut for the Cleveland Guardians. But Craig Counsell, Zach, is jumping from one rival to another.
Yeah, crazy. Going from the Brewers, where we were talking before, he's been there since 2015, which honestly seems insane. I didn't realize he was there that long. But then to just go to your rival it's interesting. For those who don't know the rivalry between Brewers and Cubs, it's honestly like if Brandon Hyde decided to go become the Rays manager. Like, this will not sit well with Brewers fans, but it will make a great headline for when the Cubs and Brewers play.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, the Brewers still had to give permission for Craig Counsell to. What was his contract up there? Do we remember?
It was expiring.
It was expiring.
But they wanted him back, from what I believe. At least what I heard in the playoffs was they were still looking to bring him back, and I guess so were the Cubs.
Yeah, and I mean, his name was the one that was tied to the Mets initially, but instead he goes right into a division rival. Cubs had a good year, right on the cusp. David Ross out, Craig Counsell in, and then Stephen Vogt. How about that? He's a likable guy, former catcher, just retired. Now he's taking over for Terry Francona.
Yeah, his last at bat, actually, his kids announced him on the PA system, and he hit a home run. So, I mean, what a way to end a career, and now he just starts a new one.
What more could you ask for? Well, hey, the Mets did make a decision, by the way. They're going, the sources, as we love the term sources, Mets are hiring Yankees coach Carlos Mendoza as their new manager. We'll figure out what happens there. And that's not the only baseball news. Rock, I believe there are some finalists that got announced and maybe some surprises for the AL Cy Young.
I would say far as the AL Cy Young Award goes, many, especially here in Birdland, thought that Kyle Bradish was going to be a finalist. And his numbers showed. He had one of the best ERAs in all of baseball, and he was the ace of the #1 seed in the American League, one of the best teams in baseball. So kind of a no-brainer with the numbers he had to name him as one of 3 finalists. But
You just had to be 3. Like, just be one of the 3.
One of 3, that's all. I'm not saying give Kyle Bradish the award. I'm not saying he was going to win the award.
Mm-hmm.
But to beat the drum, to make him a finalist, we were definitely doing that here. A lot of people, I feel like, in the baseball world were doing that. But Kyle Bradish, just straight highway robbery. Garrett Cole is a no-brainer to have in there.
Yep.
Then you have Kevin Gausman, who is a former Oriole, and then you have Sonny Gray. Numbers-wise, Bradish 12-7, 2.83 ERA, 168 Ks. Sonny Gray 8-8, 2.79 ERA, 183 Ks, and then you have Gausman with 12-9, 3.16 ERA, 237 Ks. If you guys could take one player off of that list and replace them with Kyle Bradish, I want to ask you, who would it be? Because Bradish definitely deserves to be there. He's not there, unfortunately. It is what it is, but he definitely should be.
I hate taking people off a list. Can't we just expand it to 4? But if it's going to be, I think that Garrett Cole's got to be on there. I think Gausman, because of his stuff, I would say him. And so it would probably be Sonny Gray in that case. And he had a tremendous year.
But you look at the record, Rip, and it's like, does 8-8 get you a Cy Young Award finalist? Like, should you be put on that list? I get like the 2.79 ERA, 183 Ks, but 8-8, just, I mean, that's kind of like very mediocre record wise.
Yeah, I just can't sit here and, like you said, I know people are weirdly trying to move away from wins being like an important stat, and I get that to a point.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, 8-8 doesn't scream Cy Young contender.
Doesn't move the needle for you?
Doesn't move the needle at all, especially when we have Kyle Bradish sitting here at 12-7. Now, if Kyle Bradish was, 9-8, 10-7, I understand that.
Or like had a +3 ERA.
Yeah,
fair.
but
right,
it's almost like they were looking for a reason to put a bigger name out there.
Yeah.
I think that's what it comes down to is Sonny Gray, Kevin Gausman, Garrett Cole are 3 household names that put people in the stands that people want to see. And so they're not going to give it to the newcomer riser.
No, not right off the bat. And you talk about the wins. Baseball writers might be thinking about, okay, wins may not matter because your offense has to go out and produce. Like if you go out and give out 2 runs and you lose 2-0, I don't think that's on the pitcher necessarily, even a 3-0 loss. But for Kyle Bradish to not be in consideration, I mean, gets an honorable mention, a nice pat on the back. But that stinks for the guy because to do what he did this season and to have the second half, especially that he had post All-Star break, he was absolutely dealing. He was one of the best pitchers in baseball.
Yeah. I we had him on here, Brad, not Brad behind the desk over there, but kind of Brad is Bradish's Instagram handle. He had 7 straight starts to 2 earned runs or less starting from June 25th on. And I think he only had 2 starts the rest of the way where he allowed 3 earned runs or more. It was tremendous. Should we get him back on here and ask how he feels about being
I think
snubbed
he
on
should
there?
say exactly how he feels.
Yeah. Don't hold anything back.
Not a single thing.
Yep. Exactly.
I got robbed.
Yeah, that's all. That's all the clip we need.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I'll tell you this. Bradish, I do think the best is yet to come. I think what's frustrating is the sense that you want to see guys have the opportunity to be rewarded for their great years, but the reality is it's not always going to turn out that way. All 3 of those pitchers deserve it, but Kyle Bradish was on the #1 team in the American League. He was the top pitcher in that rotation. That in itself should get you in the discussion. That's no knock to anybody else, but he earned the right for that. But I do think he's going to have a chance to be right in that group for next year. But Rocco, weren't there some other finalists named in the managerial?
I'm sorry.
If I'm not mistaken,
I got so angry.
Yeah, we kind of got
my blood is boiling right now.
Is it?
How Kyle Bradish is in an AL Cy Young Award finalist.
So
about everybody else.
Yeah,
just like throw it all out the window. All right, O's fans, you can be happy with this one. Gunnar Henderson, 2023 AL Rookie of the Year Award finalist. Tanner Bibby and Tristan Casas are also finalists for the award. And then you go to the AL Manager of the Year Award. These were 2 givens. We knew that both of these guys were going to be finalists for the awards, and both of these guys should win their respective awards. That's Brandon Hyde, Gunnar Henderson. Hyde, he's a finalist with Bruce Bochy and Kevin Cash. Bochy of the Rangers, Cash of the Rays. So
I don't know. Like, I feel like, look, as much as I love Brandon Hyde, like, I feel like there is a case to be made for Bochy because the Rangers were just as terrible 2 years ago, and the Rangers actually won the World Series, whereas the Orioles did not. And so I think that is the difference maker when it comes to whether or not Bochy or Hyde will get it. Look, I would love to see Hyde get it, but I think that's going to be the difference maker for me.
I'll say this though, Brad, about that. If I'm pretty sure it's a regular season award we're basing this off of. So regular season record.
Yeah, but you know as well as I do.
Yeah, but I'm not sure when the voting officially closes.
That's what I don't know.
With the Heisman Trophy Award, we were talking about this before the show. It closes after the conference championship game. It's supposed to be a regular season award, but the guy has a breakout performance or absolutely kills it in that championship game, like the SEC championship, ACC championship, they might get a little bit of a push. I'm not sure when this award closes, but if it closed after the end of the regular season and postseason, no factor at all, played any parts of this, I think it should go to Hyde. Here's why. The Rangers had a bigger payroll. They had bigger names, bigger superstars, and Bochy's been there before, been there, done that.
Right.
For Hyde, you look at a guy that he was down in the dirt.
Yeah.
And to bring this team, this franchise out post-rebuild to where they want to be.
Sure.
I mean, the Orioles want to take it a step further, but this is gold right now in the making. And for Hyde to be there, I think he's more than deserving of the award this year. But I get your case for Bochy. I really do. If postseason factored in, he's the winner of this award. It's plain and simple.
Yeah. I think that is the biggest thing is if this was voted on before the postseason, I think it's Hyde by a landslide. I think if it creeped into the postseason, it could get interesting.
Yep.
Also, can we just get Hyder was robbed last year of it. I think people could say, so if we go back-to-back years, I mean, we're already dealing with Bradish right now. The anger will go to a different level. But the one thing I am as confident as ever is we can remove finalists from it. Gunnar Henderson's going to be Rookie of the Year. All I needed to see was he did officially make the finalists, and it's over. I think it's a done deal.
It's been over. And Josh Young's a great player, by the way, but his injury opened up that door. But Gunnar was already banging at the door there, and then he took a sledgehammer and just knocked it right down. I mean, the dude, I really would have been curious because I would have loved to see that race. I love that competition. I love seeing it out there. How are these two guys going to compete down the stretch? Young was unbelievable before he went down, but then Gunnar Henderson, it was little by little, he was getting better. Then he had that ridiculous month, and then it was just Gunnar coming up in big moments. Then you look up and you go, holy shirts and pants, this dude's around 30 home runs. He's playing multiple positions, and now the Orioles are the best team in the American League.
Yeah.
And he was a huge part of that. So I think for Gunnar Henderson, I think it's a lock with Josh Young going down. I hope you guys listened to my advice earlier in the year when his odds dropped into I think it dropped plus 1,000 in odds.
It was like plus 2,200.
If you're into that type of thing, I hope you listen to it. I'm learning baseball as I go, but that was one I just took a guess on, and I saw him a little bit. Now for Brandon Hyde, similar testament. You guys just alluded to it. The dude went through the dog days with this organization. I got to see it firsthand in the system where it stunk, where it was a great place for opportunity for guys, but losing messes with your mind. That shit is never fun. And when people talk about that winning can change everything, it truly can. And for this Orioles team, the beauty of it was Hyde got to see this through. Not only see it through, he did something that the Orioles hadn't been able to do in a while. Win 100 games, win the American League East, and I do think that they're going to continue to get better. So we'll find out. All's good. A lot of spiciness. But, hey, the stove's only going to get hotter here, folks. Stove is only going to get hotter here, and we're going to dive more into that as we go. But, hey, why don't we switch gears a little bit here? It's a little bit of we'll keep things light on this one. We know about being a competitor. I mean, sometimes things happen on the field where you sometimes want to say something or do something maybe you don't mean. This clip, Brad, I don't know if that fully represents that, because I don't know if I would ever get to the point to do what this guy did so blatantly. I think you have the video I'm talking about here.
Pettis has been finishing blocks like this all game, and watch Turner get up with the frustration. That is right there.
That
And
is,
another one.
And he goes right across.
That's a way. That's like 101. That's just
So,
NCAA 101 on how to get tossed from a football game.
well, so my thing is like, is it like, I don't know. I'm not saying that I don't know. Only one player, Shamar Turner, got thrown out. I don't even know who the other guy is, but he should. Yeah, that guy right there should have gotten tossed as well. You don't just stand there with your nuts on somebody. Let me see. Let's just replay this. Yeah, this reminds me.
Let's get a closer look. Can we zoom in?
Yeah,
We're zooming in right now.
Oh, whammy!
I will.
I think he should have been tossed for not
Did
even
you-
having a reaction
Look,
when he got
do you wanna
punched.
take a look?
there.
They should have. They should have.
didn't even flinch when he got hit.
They should have both been tossed. Is what I'm saying.
It was. I will say it was one of those things where I saw it online, and I'll give it to him. Shout out to him. He pulled the arm back again, and he held himself from punching him in the face mask because he probably has seen how that doesn't go well anytime a player tries to punch him in the face mask.
Yeah, Parker, I see you brewing over there about how do you feel of how do you feel? You feeling like that was justified as mad as you were that you're just gonna and wind up and whammy right to the
I'll say this: the only time that's justified is when it's like a 3-year-old and they just don't know what they're doing.
Oh, I thought you were going to say to a 3-year-old. And I was like, what?
Yeah,
I was like,
Yeah, no, that's fine too.
I was like, where's
My
this?
son better watch out.
oh my
You know, a little kid just like winds up and punches their dad.
Yeah.
In the dick, and it's like,
and then they laugh.
Yeah.
Is that happen? I mean,
I
you
think
speaking from
I think he
experience?
did the same thing.
That's,
No, I haven't. I haven't been punched in the dick yet by my son,
Not yet.
thankfully.
There you go.
But
Don't have him
coming
watch
soon,
this.
though. It's coming.
He'll get ideas. If
Hey,
he
you know
starts
what?
looking
You know
at
what? My
this.
favorite, one of the favorite things of the video too is the Ole Miss player. Even though it's always when the guy when they feel like they're caught, they always put their hands up. Like I didn't do anything, but I just like the fact that he keeps his hands up here for a while. I think we'll show it.
That's what I'm saying.
He's like, "Yep, hands are up. Don't worry about me. Don't mind me." And
Yeah.
then just
I'm just
right
I'm
there.
just giving this guy a dry blowjob.
Yeah, it was a I cannot just everything about this video is so funny. Like,
This reminds me of like what was that one game where Shaq just dunked on that guy,
yeah,
rested his nutsack on
yeah,
him.
that
What
literally.
the fuck was his name?
Chris from the New York Knicks.
Yeah.
He did the
Yeah,
That's what it reminded me
signature
of,
Shaq dunk,
Yeah.
and he pushed him afterwards
with his
and the
nutsack.
guy like threw the ball. It might have been not Chris Dudley. Was it Chris
Either way, you know what I'm saying. Like that's what it reminded me of.
well, that guy,
It was
Shaq,
Chris
like-
Dudley. I was right.
For
I
sure.
should've just went with it.
Shaq's not a guy you
Should've said
mess
it with
with.
confidence.
Hey, but
No, I didn't say
also
it.
this is a great lesson for anybody out there. Like this is why the coaches are going to pull this and say like, "Hey, don't lose your shit. It could be justified, but that could cost us a game."
Yeah.
Like how many times have we seen moments like that in big situations
yeah.
where a stupid penalty costs a team a game? I'm not saying that's not justified, but hey, you got to keep our emotions in check and keep your hands off another person's.
Yeah, let's not uppercut from there.
Yeah, well, you know what? I understand frustrations happen. Haven't done it yet.
What would the fine have been in the NFL for that? What do you think the fine would have been?
Well, I have no idea, Zach, but I know the fines are getting super hefty,
Yeah.
which leads into the next spicy topic here.
You know what? That was a great segue.
I know.
That
what can I say?
That was perfect.
Thank you.
All
Thank you.
Nicely
sometimes-
done. Nicely done.
Hey,
Sometimes
before
I'm in my bag.
we jump into that thing, Rick's gonna give you. Rock's been hitting the gym. Hey, good for you, man. Rick's grabbing. Hey, man. Rock, been in the gym. See you, man.
Thanks, Rick.
Hey,
Appreciate it.
you know that's why Rocco's getting on me for timing today, but Rocco was still trying to. He was claiming he was going to do some cardio.
I did.
To be determined. Yeah.
I did some.
We're
cardio.
still working on our Wake Up with Ripken show where Ryan will take you through a stretch every morning.
Oh,
Or-
is
Yeah,
that-
remember we were talking about that. You were saying you were excited to start that?
yeah. Wake up.
Right.
with-
Yeah, 7 a.m. every morning. It's coming soon.
It's coming soon. And,
30-minute yoga session with Ryan Ripken.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah.
You kind of give off a Richard Simmons vibe a little bit.
Well, I
Like
did.
the
I do.
exercise.
I
See
could.
the headband.
Oh, you know what? I did. We promoted a dance in high school. I actually wore a fake mustache and a headband. Way off topic here, but my nickname, I was an instructor named Pierre, and it turned out
What
it was
the
great.
fuck?
It was a great dance.
You
And
were
that-
so corny. I swear to God.
I'm corny.
Yes,
Why am
love
I-
this.
why am I
love
corny?
this.
because like
If Ryan, like, can we all agree, like, if Ryan wasn't 6'6", he would have gotten bullied in high school,
100%.
probably in college as well.
without a doubt. Without a doubt.
You know what I should you know what I should find you guys, just like the NFL fined Deontay Johnson. I thought I saw some comments joking about, because Jalen Warren got fined significantly, his game check, almost essentially his game check. And someone was starting to make comments that Jalen Warren is getting fined for Deontay Johnson's comments. Then still something has to happen. The point being, guys, Pat Ricard just got fined this week. It's over $21,000. Jalen Warren almost at 50,000, and then it got appealed where it dropped 9,000. So still, he's giving almost 40 grand back.
His whole paycheck,
and
whole game check,
and for his it wasn't malicious. So guys, I mean, I get that we're trying to protect guys and players, but at what point is this becoming this unnecessary roughness, and these fines is getting a little bit out of hand?
That's the thing here too. Like Pat Ricard, he was just making a football move. Like
I still don't know what
this play right here. Look, number 42. For those of you guys don't know, number 42 going right up the gut. He was fined almost $22,000 for this. This made no sense to me. And then we go back to the Jalen Warren. This is the play here as well. I don't really understand. Like, this is what, roughing the passer, I'm assuming?
No, they were saying for Jalen Warren blocking. Number 30 right there.
It's
the running back
back
position.
Okay.
It's that hit apparently is
that's
worth
bullshit.
45 million or $1,000,
He's
45
not
million.
the biggest dude in the world. So
Yeah, what's he supposed to do? Just let the guy run over him?
It is, guys. It is getting out of hand. And with Ricard, I'm not sure if there was anything that happened after the play, because if that
Had to be.
alone is what he got fined $21,694 for, that's absurd.
Yeah.
It's like, what are we doing? Are we letting guys play football? What do you expect Pat Ricard, who's about 350 plus pounds, running, and he's a pretty quick guy too for his size, nimble, and lowering his shoulder to block someone, to put all of his weight into someone? What do you expect the guy to do? He's trying to move bodies.
He's just doing
That is
his job
as a fullback, to move people out of the way for the running back, to clear space so they can run up the gut into the end zone. That's what he gets paid to do. So, like, to take away from him literally doing his job is, imagine doing your job right now and getting fined for it, not knowing what you did wrong.
Right.
Ryan does that to me all the time.
Every time.
Every time.
The bill is just rising.
It just racks up.
Parker hasn't had one yet.
Yeah,
he'll find out.
I can't afford it.
Dude, I toe the line so many times with him. I'm surprised I haven't gotten fined yet.
You think you haven't? That's the funny part.
He's got the tally right now.
The fines come eventually.
He's finding you so he can pay me, basically.
Yeah, that's essentially it. Hey, it's just how the world works. But what's happening right here for these guys, I understand there's a safety, there's certain rules and guidelines. There's rules. As much as we don't like rules do keep things in place. But on certain of these cases, I don't know I know they said for running backs or ball carriers, anybody leading with their helmet. That's a new thing. That's a safety precaution now to try to help players. Same thing on the defensive side. We know about hits to the helmet or the neck or head area. But I guess right now, I don't know if there's a certain point that you got to say, hey, there has to be like a realist example. Like, you were trying to make this game younger for the next generation, or safer for the next generation. But Parker, I don't know in this case, because people think Jalen Warren's making all this money. That's almost his game check. Like, he's not the $1 million, $2 million per game player.
Yeah, it's his livelihood. You think about a guy like Ricard, like dying breed in the NFL. This guy's putting it on the line to put some food on the table for his family. Obviously, a little more than that. But do we want to see fullbacks completely gone from the NFL?
No, that's what's
Not
crazy.
here in Baltimore.
Yeah, definitely not here.
in Baltimore with these fullbacks we've had here.
Yeah.
You guys think Pizza Bullies will cover that Pat Ricard?
Oh, they better. Easy. We're going to see him in a few more Pizza Bullies.
He's got
If you start seeing the Pizza Bullies commercials on repeat during
different show week, like, for the next 3 days.
just going to be a bunch of Pizza Bullies commercials. But I mean, literally with that play, Pat Ricard is doing his job. There was nothing it's not like there was a low hit. There wasn't even a high hit. Like, he ran into the gap he's supposed to be blocking and blocked.
That's why I'm not sure if there was something that happened after the play that we didn't
Has
see.
to
in
be.
the
Yeah, it's
video.
called unnecessary roughness.
There has to be, because nothing there
Mhm.
sticks out to me as something malicious, something he did that was a finable offense. And if you're going to find guys, I'll say this: take a percentage of their paycheck.
Yeah.
Don't start. Pat Ricard's fine shouldn't be the same as Jalen Warren's fine. Jalen Warren's fine shouldn't be the same as Lamar Jackson's fine. You know, the guys that are making top tier money
Mhm.
should be getting fined a percentage. Same with the guys that are making low tier money. You shouldn't
Yeah.
have to walk away with $9,000 or $10,000 of a game you just played, put your blood, sweat, and tears into, put your body on the line, and to walk away with that money. Maybe that's like, all right, groceries and other things for more than that. Like I'm not spending $50,000 on groceries, but you know what I mean? Like for that, I mean, that's guys expect that paycheck to come in and for them to be able to deposit that in the bank or be able to do other things with it.
Yeah, it's got to be rightfully. You got to sit there and go, is this fully justified? And again, if it's someone that's continuously making the same mistakes over and over again, it's like a strike one, strike two. Okay, well, hey, how many more chances can we give you?
Perfect.
But right now, it's hard, and I get it because look, it's no secret what's the NFL, the scrutiny it's under. It's the most popular sport. Everyone likes to watch it because it's like gladiators at that point. Like everyone's addicted to the one game
being dudes.
Yeah, guys being dudes. But at the same time, I know you're trying to make it safer for the next group coming in, but you got to let those guys that are out there have the chance. If they're not doing anything maliciously, give them a little bit more of leniency because it becomes a problem. Also, by the way, you brought up Pizza Boles. Happy Gilmore with Subway. I know that's way off it, but, who knows? Happy Gilmore was getting kicked off the tour.
Oh, yeah.
Or suspended for the tour without pay.
Kick him off the tour.
Kick him off the tour. Subway came right to their hope. Maybe Subway will be a sponsor of this one day. Who knows?
True. But last thing, like Rocco was saying, doesn't Odell take like $8,000 fine just before the game pretty much for the socks? I know he doesn't wear socks or whatever that rule is.
Tyreek, you saw, is getting fined every single game he doesn't wear socks.
Exactly. So we have players that are making enough that they're like, whatever, I'm just going to take the $8,000 sock fine. And then you have Jaylen Warren, who's making a football play, and they're like, yeah, dude, that is your entire game check.
Yeah,
and Jaylen Warren is making a lot less money than Odell Beckham Jr.
Well,
let me tell you that.
That's the point. The stigma then that these players are getting all this amount of money. And yes, they are it's a humble experience to be able to play a sport for a living. But you also have to be that damn good to be able to be at this point and then to be able to continue this career. Guys like Tyreek Hill and Odell Beckham Jr. have already been able to sign multiple contracts. Jaylen Warren is a guy that's just trying to grind his NFL career out. We're going to have Darius Jennings back on here. And Brad, you've heard Darius talk about this.
Yeah.
Darius grinded for every single paycheck, being an undrafted free agent. And there's so many other players, and I put Jaylen Warren in that category. You are grinding because tomorrow is not guaranteed, at least contract-wise. So, hey, speaking of that, these fines are adding up, and the NFL's cashing in on these fines. Montez Sweat is cashing in after that trade with the Bears.
Yeah.
How about that deal? 4 years, $98 million. How much guaranteed?
Yes, $72 million guaranteed.
Oh my goodness.
And if memory serves, Roquan Smith was not commanding that same contract anywhere near that.
Weird. Just read my mind, Brad, because I was literally about to say that. I was going to say, is this the same franchise that didn't pay Roquan?
Correct. Yeah. And so, only the best linebacker in the league that they didn't sign. So then they go and make another trade for Montez Sweat, signs him for $72 million guaranteed over 4 years. Just kind of a mind-blowing thing. This just feels like Bears being Bears, the organization. So I don't know. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. Maybe they're just trying to right a wrong with the Roquan thing. Yeah. I have no idea.
Yeah, it's like the NFL is cashing in on players playing football, and Montez Sweat is cashing in on the Bears not knowing how to run an organization.
Pretty much.
And let's use Roquan as the example. They decided Roquan Smith was not worth $20 million last year. Now, I think anyone in Baltimore that has watched this defense since Roquan Smith has gotten here will tell you Roquan Smith is worth every single penny he is earning right now. But then the fact that last year they traded a second-round pick to get Chase Claypool.
Yeah. What a move.
Incredible. Who is now
one of the best moves we've ever seen.
Who now is playing tight end for the Miami Dolphins and got a false start yesterday because in the first play he came in, he didn't know where to go and was still lining up and standing when they went and snapped the ball. So his first play, he was, I will say in play 3, he recovered a fumble. So, offensive awareness. But
And that's why they traded for him.
that's
For
why you
offensive
get
awareness.
offensive awareness. But it really is one of those things where they didn't want to give Roquan the money. Then they went out in free agency and signed 2 middle linebackers for just slightly less.
Yeah, Tremaine Edmonds was the big one where they signed to a 4-year, $72 million contract, $50 million guaranteed. Then you signed Montez Sweat, this big deal.
Mhm. While also giving up a 2nd-round pick for Montez Sweat.
That is correct.
Yeah.
He is correct.
But hey, pass rushers they get the top dollar, right? So I will say this: if you're a Bears fan, Parker, would you rather say they make that trade and they don't sign Sweat, even if they overpay for him, or they let him walk in the offseason?
No, they got to make the trade, right?
Oh, I mean, so they made the trade, but I mean, they're just going to let him walk?
No.
Right. So, like, they at least accomplished that.
Mhm.
They said, you know what? Now, Jalen Johnson might still be
I was
pissed
just about
because
to bring that up.
Jalen Johnson, their stud corner, wants a new contract. So you hope then.
Well, so we talked about this. We actually talked about this on Thursday about Jalen Johnson like taking issue with them signing Montez Sweat before him, and he's like, that better not fucking happen.
Yeah, they asked if he would take issue with it, and he said
Yeah, like
he said yeah,
without-
without hesitation.
Yeah,
without-
talk about.
without even hesitating, right? Like he was just like, yes, without even thinking about it. So you got to wonder what that locker room's like at this point. I'm sure that Jalen's not going to take it out on Montez.
Yeah.
It's not his fault.
Yeah, I mean,
but,
he
Oh, it
got
ain't
the
his
bag.
fault.
but like, you got to think that he's just, what's he playing for at this point?
So I was looking a little because I was blown away by his comments just about someone who just came into your team and talking about him. You don't want him to get the contract first. But then I realized the deeper reason is because Jalen Johnson obviously doesn't want to be in Chicago right now. And if Montez Sweat, with him now signing that extension, frees up the franchise tag
Right.
to now be used on Jalen. So I'm not sure if it was necessarily him saying, I don't want Sweat to get paid first.
Yeah.
I think he didn't want Sweat to get paid, so Sweat had to be franchise tagged and allow Jalen to go out, because now the Bears would be stupid not to franchise tag Jalen Johnson. They have no one else to use it on.
Yeah, I mean, it's all strategical, and that's the part. None of these players have it against other, unless there's something inside the locker room
Yeah.
that we don't know about, and you're like I'm like Rock. I'm like, I hate this dude.
Yeah,
Right?
There's
Like,
a
I'm like-
lot of drama in the
Yeah, like if
pre-show.
I'm like, screw that, I hate this guy. Right? That's why we still work together.
What did I do?
That
You're just the example.
that's a loaded
You-
question.
This is-
3 other people here.
That's a
You had
loaded
to
question.
push me.
He
Hey,
had,
you
to
know
keep,
what?
had to keep it in the camera frame.
Hey, no, hey, it's all good. It's all good. You're the problem.
Thanks, Taylor Swift. Appreciate it.
No, but anyway, and all jokes aside, most guys don't have a problem with other people want their other teammates, friends, people around the league to eat. It's good. It's good business. You want to see your guys succeed, right? But it's mainly because Jalen Johnson's like, you're pissed off,
Mhm.
but we have seen relationships can get repaired because why? Why
You're winning.
Well, that too. What's
But the dollar.
number one, number two, money
Money.
talks. Jonathan Taylor, it felt like he was never going to be a Colt again for about a month and a half, right? And everyone was thinking he's coming to Baltimore, he's going somewhere else. And then they go, you know what? We're going to break bread. Here's this contract. And JT's like, I am so happy I'm a Colt.
Dude, you look right here in Baltimore. With
I
the
mean,
ball.
yes. So
Yeah.
let's. That's the part that like cracks me up because like we saw, oh my god, who just tore his Achilles?
Daniel, no.
Daniel Jones.
Not just tore
Every
his Achilles.
quarterback in the league.
Yeah, no, the running
Aaron-
back for the Ravens.
Oh, JK.
Yes,
Dobbins.
JK. So JK was holding out, right? Like, and he was holding out after Saquon signed. After, well, not Jonathan Taylor, but after we saw
Josh Jacobs, right?
Dalvin Cook
Oh, it's Saquon
and Dalvin Cook,
Yeah.
and all those guys were in a meeting talking about how they weren't
Zoom
getting paid,
call.
and they all bent over and said, "Okay, well, I guess we're just going to take this $1 million or this 1 year, $10 million contract." But JK continued to hold out. Eventually, obviously, showed up. But it's just like at some point, you as a player have to realize what the market's actually worth and what you're actually worth, and not and stop thinking that you're worth more than everybody. And that was a little bit more of a vibe that I got from Lamar as well. And it wasn't until we saw Jalen get his contract that we saw some movement with Lamar, because I think their money does talk, but I think the market talks too.
Yeah, it talks more.
Right, and that's what we saw with that. So while I agree with you, Ryan, I think the other part of it is that like there is some sort of realization of like, okay, here's what I think I'm worth. And then you start to realize, well, everybody else is getting paid this, so I should probably bring my expectations down.
Yeah,
I'll say
well,
this, Brad, you could put that on their agents as well. Lamar,
For
not
sure.
the case because he doesn't have one.
For
but
sure.
You put that on the agents as well because a lot of the times, you can have a good agent, you could have a bad agent, and your agent might be in your ear saying, "You're worth this. We could definitely get you this, no doubt about it." And a lot of the times, the agent doesn't get paid until you get paid that next salary, and they're going to get a percentage of that. So they want more money for them as much as they want the money for you. So sometimes that could tie in as well. Lamar, he got paid. He got paid on his own, and good for him. That's awesome. But you look at some of the guys in the league, and you have to wonder, are they getting bad advice from the – because I want to play devil's advocate here. We talked about how beneficial an agent would be for a player like Lamar Jackson during that time. He did it on his own. All power to him. It was awesome to see because he set the standard kind of – I mean, Roquan did it for linebackers, but what Lamar was able to do for quarterbacks by himself, that's incredible. That's something that doesn't come around or happen a lot of the time. So – but you look at guys and it's like, are they getting bad advice from their agents? Are they getting bad advice from their representation? Because you look at some of these contracts, you look at some of these decisions, and you shake your head because, I mean, as normal human being, 5 average human beings right here.
I say above average.
Whoa. Don't ever talk about Parker that way.
I was going to say 4 average human beings in Parker. Sorry.
That beautiful voice takes you above.
We see some of these decisions, and we're just sitting there, and I think the vast majority of people are, and they're like, why? Like, why did you turn down that contract? Like, I would have taken that in a second, or you should have taken that in a second. But, there's always more money out there. I wouldn't call it greed, but I would call it just bad decision making with that. And it might not just be the person, the player that is actually getting that contract for them.
The more people you have involved, and even though you trust them, there's more than mouths that need to be fed. And that's why representation is so important, that you find the right one for you, whatever that may be. It's just relationships, who you work with. Like, we joke around, but we like working with each other, and there's a trust. Same thing, you have to have that in the sports world, because it's not always good. We're working on trust.
Yeah, we're liking each other.
Yeah, we're working on the liking part.
There's a lot of things in process.
But I'll tell you this, who likes this? All this is every pass rusher that's having an upcoming contract.
Yeah.
Thanks to Montez Sweat, but more importantly, thank you to the Chicago Bears. Well, hey, let's move on to the next one here. And this is kind of talking about a person that's going to cash in soon, whether or not you think that he's lived up to the expectations so far. That's Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is still arguably going to be
he's going to be the
number one pick. If he's not going to fall far behind that. He's going to go. But recently we saw there was a video that circulated of him pouring out his emotion after a loss, jumped into the stands. I believe it was his mom.
Yeah. Lambo leaped into his mom's arms to cry
after a tough game against Washington. I see you guys are not very compassionate about this situation.
I think it's a funny situation. Like, I'm on the side of, like, this doesn't impact his. People say this is impacting draft stock. In no way should this impact your draft stock.
Oh, no.
Caleb Williams, in my mind, Caleb Williams could on television just throw a bad pass, punch his coach, and walk out, and he would be selected number 1 overall this spring. He's that big of a talent. But it didn't, as we say, move the needle. It didn't move the needle one way or another.
I disagree. I disagree 100%. And so let's go ahead and react to this video real quick. This is after the game. You can see, obviously, he's consoling, and then like his mom covers it up because nobody wants to see him bawling his eyes out. And then he's literally sobbing. You could see his whole body shaking over this loss. And it wasn't just about this part for me. The other part of it was that he also, in the press conference, goes and tells everybody that he wants to go home and cuddle with his dog and watch some shows after this game. Now, to me, fellas, like imagine Ray Lewis saying this, or Tom Brady, or Peyton Manning. Like one of these guys, they lose a tough game, they lose the AFC Championship, some bullshit like that, and then we gather around, guys. Let's all cuddle our puppies and go watch some Hallmark movies when we go home. Like that's a real way to rally the troops, guys. That's true leadership. Everybody wants to follow that guy.
That's what happened
more.
in the Panthers, probably. The Panthers
Yeah,
probably
that's
doing
yeah.
that.
Him and Bryce are buddies.
Well, clearly, you are not a fan of Hallmark movies. And I'm not saying I'm the
Oh
biggest.
my
Hallmark
God, that was
movie
your
fan.
takeaway.
I'm not saying I'm the biggest Hallmark movie
bro.
fan here.
This is why I'm telling you you're corny.
Hot topic now is that Ryan
Don't
is
you-
upset.
Don't you
about
like I can
Hallmark.
spice this up? Well, no, okay. Yeah, you know what? I there's a method to my madness sometimes. But anyway, Hallmark movies, I'll say I'm gonna have to live with them. Whether Jamie's obsessed with them at home, we're already decked out in Christmas stuff. We'll save that for a different time. But for Caleb Williams in general, look. First off, I love cuddling my dog. He's a great pup, man. I love Ollie.
No, everybody loves cuddling their dogs. That's not what I'm. That's not. The
But you're
point.
saying about him having that dog in it, that fierce competitor being like, screw this, I'm pissed off. That's what you're looking at. Like, with,
Yeah.
and I get it.
Sometimes you need that dog in you. Sometimes you need to cuddle that dog. That's simple as that.
Okay,
I'm
so-
scared we were about to get canceled by the dog people. I know after I play a hard game of whatever sport I'm playing, so golf,
NBA Jam.
maybe not necessarily football. I love going home, rolling up on the couch with my pup.
There's nothing better sometimes.
Okay, but you're not a
think he
leader.
might be
You're not
working-
expected to be a leader of men, and you're.
No, but he's a leader of dogs.
Oh, put that in.
I like
Put
a
that
leader-
in.
I like a leader of the wolf pack.
Oh,
That's my kind of guy.
Okay, so
That's
asking
my
the question here
Caleb
then.
Williams needs to hire you as his like PR guy.
Yeah.
That. Yeah. After this, that'd be great.
He might get a
Get him
dog
an
sponsorship.
SPCA deal.
He might get a dog sponsorship. But hey, but in all seriousness then here, let's rope it back in for a second. Quite frankly, if you're looking at if you're an NFL franchise, Brad, I get your point. You're saying you want that competitor where no matter what, I'm pissed off, and not this where it's not that he was conceding to it, but he was exhausted. That was an exhausted response. Rock, if you were an NFL franchise right now, Caleb Williams is available. He's there. Is that still a guy you feel comfortable with?
Unless he wants ownership of the franchise.
Yeah.
Like that was reported, but I don't know how true that is. Yeah, Caleb Williams,
Stud.
he is a dog. And he might not be Brad's dog of the week going forward, or dog of the day, or whatever. That seems like it's off the table. But you have to factor in this. We look at these guys as just football players week in and week out. Caleb Williams is 21 years old. I was emotional at 21 years old. I'm sure all you guys were.
Brock, you're still emotional.
And yeah, I am. I go home and cry myself to sleep every night. I don't have a dog, so thank you very much. And I don't watch Hallmark movies like you, Ryan.
So he just does it by himself in
Exactly,
silence.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's just. But he's 21 years old. He's got his whole life ahead of him. He is still a kid, as far as because I consider 21 years old. I don't consider that it might be a young adult,
Yeah.
but you're still a kid at 21. You have your whole life ahead of you, and you're not fully matured at that point in time. First of all, props to his mom for having the awareness to cover up his face so the cameras couldn't catch him crying. Because
That was a big
if
parent
that was
move.
a CBS game, March Madness would have been all over that, right up in his face, like right up in the camera.
We'd
because
have a
they
new-
find the people to
new
cry
meme.
every single game, like you know that.
Oh yeah.
But he was emotional, and to these guys, sometimes it's not just wins and losses. I mean, he wants it to be his livelihood, but you go out there, you play for 40, 45 minutes, however long a college football game is, and you give your all, you put in your blood, sweat, and tears. And I think that's the second time I've said blood, sweat, and tears that time. We have a meter going right now. But,
Oh, we should have a
Yeah.
counter.
yeah, exactly.
for
But
sure.
he laid it all on the line, and he lost a big game. And he knows that was their college football playoff hopes probably right there. You beat that team, you're maybe back in the mix. You have a chance. But now, like Caleb Williams, he could sit out the rest of the season and he could still be the number one overall
Look,
pick. Maybe
I'm not
he's thinking
saying-
about that decision in that point in time. I don't know.
Well, we're going to talk about CJ Stroud in a minute because that's not always the case.
Yeah,
You don't test well, and all of a sudden you just drop down in
that's
the draft.
fair.
And look at Lamar Jackson, who was a Heisman Trophy winner and threw for 1 million yards. So, like, I'm not taking that bet. I'm not taking that he, and I think this could impact that. And look, I'm not saying that you can't be emotional, but the
Yeah.
fact of the matter is that like you went up there and it would have been one thing to be emotional and get upset, but like it was just that you ran up to your mom, and then like you got like it was just a lot. The optics aren't good, and then you're still not like holding it together when you talk to the press, and then you don't really talk about like the game. You just talk about what you're going to do when you get up.
Are you thinking like from a GM standpoint right now?
100%.
Okay.
Because like if I'm a
thinking from a
GM,
Brad standpoint, you're thinking from a GM standpoint.
right? So
now.
if I'm a GM and I'm thinking, okay, I want to draft this guy to lead all my men, my 53 guys, like that ain't fucking happening when you react like that. What happens when you lose? Because there's going to be bigger games to lose than this one.
That could have. I'll say this, like that could have an effect if you're thinking of it from a GM standpoint. It honestly could. I'm not saying I agree with it because, quite frankly, I don't. I think he's a hell of a football player, and I think emotions aside, it doesn't matter what his emotions are.
It does.
He can cry.
I disagree 100%.
For me,
I
I really don't think it is. After a game like that, I still think he's when you get into an NFL locker room, I feel like it's different than a college locker room, and it really is. Like you are a leader of men in an NFL locker room. You have to step up to the plate and be a leader.
You have to, but
those guys in the locker room are. So it's like college. I think that he can kind of get away with that. And, like I said, not going to knock him for it. It is what it is. It happened. And, I think the whole cuddle the dog and, watch a movie. It's like, do you want to say that in a press conference? No, but those were probably his true emotions at that point in time. That's just how he felt.
I like that authenticity with it. Whether
same.
or not, I like the fact that he just said what he was saying, whether you like it or not. And as far as the competitor part of it, there could be a realization in his mind that, and this is how I looked at it, when something was coming to an end, and you understand this, Caleb Williams went to USC and they thought that they were going to have a chance in the college football playoff. That's done. They thought they're going to have a chance at the Pac-12 championship. Unless something happens here, that's more than likely they're going to be on the outside looking in because Washington and Oregon are the top two teams in the Pac-12, which will then be the Pac-2. So there is so much emotions when you're that young. But you're right, the next level, they don't care how it's done. You better win.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the biggest thing. You can be as emotional as all get out. You can go and cry in the stands. You can go home and hug your dog, which is one of the best things to do, by the way. Still on top of that, Mark and I agree. If you win, everything else takes care of itself.
Yeah,
that's what's going to solve it at the end of the day.
Quickly, let me ask you this: you've been in locker rooms, clubhouses, like at a higher level than all of us here have been in. Does that affect the way that you look at your teammate? If you are Caleb Williams' teammate and you see the emotion, him wearing his heart on his sleeve in a positive or a negative aspect, why or why not?
I think more than the negative part would be, okay, I'll do this. This will grind my gears. We're going to Ryan grind my gears for a second. So hear me out. It sounds like he's done this.
Yeah,
so
I was going to say he might ask a question or two before.
Yeah. So look, this is what gets me. I don't care what anyone wants to do if they get emotional, they get pissed off, because I'd be lying if I say I didn't get pissed off and say some things, break a bat, throw a bat, whatever it may be, and wear my emotions on my sleeve at some point. I think we all have. You're lying to yourself if you haven't. But I think my biggest thing is, what are you going to do to respond? How do you handle when shit gets tough and the moment passes? How do you rebound from that? That's really how I look at it.
Yeah.
Because Caleb Williams right now, if Caleb comes out after this and balls out the rest of the way, no one's ever going to think about this moment ever again at all. But the bigger thing that I looked in the locker room was when no one's watching. I know that's a cliche shit, but when no one's watching and shit's hit the fan, what are you going to do? Are you going to back down the, oh, woe is me? Or are you going to put your head down and go fucking work? And if you go put the work in, I got no problem with how you handle it, as long as you're respectful to your teammates and the staff and everyone around you. But you go do the work, you can go do whatever you want.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. I think, when you look at a kid like this, he's so young, he's so talented, right? And, we talk about his draft stock, and people are like, oh, his arm, his throwing ability, his, the way he responds to the media, all this stuff. Like, I think the NFL is starting to realize that at the end of the day, leadership is like the number one thing. I mean, you have these guys that aren't that big, aren't that strong, aren't that fast. Maybe some are, but they're Lamar Jackson, big, strong, and fast. Let's go.
5 million.
Get a guy like,
Let's go.
Caleb Williams, and you might see an NFL team say, you know what, like, if this is the guy's low point right now, then we'll take him. Like he gives a fuck. Like he cares.
Yeah.
And he has his family there that is supporting him. And I think, look, they got Oregon next week. They come out, he has a good game. Even if they like lose a close one, then I think this is just like, water under the bridge, and people are like, all right, he's still the guy.
Watch him bounce back. Like that's what they're gonna say is wow, what a comeback or bounce back for them. But for them to win the game, I'm going to have to say they're going to have to play some defense. It's not been pretty for USC whatsoever. I mean, it was funny. I was looking at the over and under at one point. The over and under was 75.
Yeah, it was 76.5.
I'm like, that's great. And it was already
like you took it or something.
Yeah. I almost live bet it at 90.5. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to. And then it hit.
You knew what it was.
Yeah, I was going to say, I knew. As someone who was, because I was so shocked, it was like third quarter it hit. I was like, there's no way that 70 points should be put up in 3 quarters of football. But that's the Big 12, baby.
Oh, yeah. I mean, hey, this is the last thing. Hey, Rick said this. I cried when I lost championship game in rec ball, but I was 13. Hey, Rick, I had some of those moments too. I hated losing. And sometimes to the point where I'd be that emotional. I'll say this too. When I had to retire and I was figuring things out at the end, Did Rip shed a tear? You're damn right I did. Jamie, I was doing a retirement post and she wanted me to listen to it. And I was trying to speak it out word. I couldn't get the words out. And I'm like, well, damn. I'm like, maybe I'm as soft as Rocco. But I mean, at the same point.
I remember seeing your post and I didn't know who you were. And I was just like, you saw the post and I was like, the McGregor, like, who the F is this guy?
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm just kidding. But like, yeah,
it's like really
it's people like your point though. People can get emotional. I made the last out of every Little League baseball game I ever played in. And I cried all the time, and I hated baseball, and I wanted to quit, and I did eventually. So there's my story. It is what it is.
Yeah, that was just as meaningful as Ryan's.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Really,
I'm glad we
good
all
guy.
shared our
It was
stories of
more
our
meaningful
triumph.
than
Yeah.
what Ryan said.
So
yeah, it makes a
No,
point.
you're absolutely right.
No, the point is things matter, man. We're human beings. You're going to be emotional, but how do you continue to move past it when everything settles back down? That's the biggest thing. But I'll tell you what, we'll see how things settle back down for this player that's on at a high. He's through the roof. He's through the ceiling. There is no ceiling for him. CJ Stroud went ballistic yesterday for the Houston Texans. Broke, I felt like every rookie record for a game that you can imagine. 470 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And by the way, not only for a rookie, but he became the 6th player in NFL history to throw for over 450 yards, 5 touchdowns, and no picks. I mean, dude, guys, Stroud.
He's good.
He's real good. And honestly, for me, that the moment where I said he is going to be an unbelievable quarterback was that Georgia semifinal college football playoff game. That dude showed he had it. No testing is going to show it otherwise.
Stud. He is a stud, and we talked about it a few weeks ago on the show. The CJ Stroud. I think the question was, does he have the ability to be the next superstar in the NFL or a superstar in the NFL, something along those lines? And he has it. He has all the intangibles. And I just laugh at the people who said CJ Stroud didn't test well. He might not be a good quarterback. This guy doesn't have it because he didn't test well. It's like, I don't know what he tested or what the questions were, but like he's passed every eye test that I've seen on the football field. CJ Stroud has it. And it should hurt Steelers fans out there. And I really think it does. I think that, if I were a Steelers fan, I'd be hurt by this. Kenny Pickett, 13 career touchdown passes. CJ Stroud, 14 career touchdown passes. So that one kind of, for Steelers fans, that one kind of stings a little bit.
How many interceptions does CJ Stroud have?
One. You want to know how many Kenny has?
Please.
13.
Oh,
that is
no.
insane. So the other thing about
it's because his hands are so tiny.
CJ Stroud is also on pace to breaking the touchdown rookie record as well, which was set by who? Do you remember that? Do you know that?
Touchdown rookie record?
Yep.
It blew my mind when Brad.
How recent are we talking?
Oh, it's recent.
Very recent.
No, don't give him that hint.
Not very.
I don't.
Well, now Dan Marino's out. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Dan Marino's out. Thanks. Rookie touchdown record. Am I gonna call myself an idiot when I don't know who it is?
No. You just might be surprised by this.
I got it
I'm
very
trying
fast.
to think of who played as a rookie that season because a lot of these guys they didn't play their rookie
That's what's
season.
crazy is it's not high.
Yeah.
Like it's not.
It's 28 is the
Yeah.
record, which was set by Baker Mayfield.
Wow.
Yeah. Baker.
Yeah.
Wow.
How about that?
How about them apples?
Wow. Yeah.
So there you have it, Baker Mayfield. Now, obviously, this doesn't mean that CJ Stroud's going to go the same path as Baker. It is a little concerning. I will say this because the Texans organization has always been a bit sus, just right up there with Cleveland. So who knows how they'll end up treating CJ? But yeah, I mean, he looks like an absolute stud out there. I hope that he continues this and that this just isn't a one year thing. Once everybody gets tape on him, then he's no longer that dude. So we'll see how it shakes out. But yeah, the guy is just absolutely balling out.
And Brad, I love how they set him up with talented young receivers around him as well. So
they need a running game, but
they need a line. I feel like
they need to feed Damian Pierce.
Pierce, everyone thought he was going to be the guy last season because he was running like a madman in this season.
Yeah, some people spent a lot. Oh,
yeah. It was so funny. I traded him to my boy for Nico Collins, and it was like the most fair trade ever.
Oh, you did it?
Neither his I ended up doing it.
Oh.
Nico Collins actually balled out this past week, but like Pierce, he really hasn't done anything.
Does nothing. Every week I put him in that lineup, and every week they give the ball to Singletary on the one. It's just so fun.
He's a vulture, man. He's a vulture. He's a vulture like Gus Edwards was a vulture for that Keaton Mitchell touchdown this past. Well, the second touchdown he should have had.
And that's how it's going to continue to be, in my opinion, which is a perfect segue into our next topic, which is going to be.
We need a segue sponsor.
So listen,
segue.
We have our spicy topics. It's going to be probably a spice company. McCormick, here's looking at you. The Old Bay spicy topics, spicy segment. So no, in all seriousness, let's get into some of the Raven stuff. So.
That's what I was just saying,
man. Yeah.
Who makes the Segway? Is it like that? Is
Oh, you're saying we actually get a Segway?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I think it's Segway, right?
Dude, all of us just.
I'm looking up
Segway
for sale.
Room while the cameras are going.
Yes,
we can set up different studios throughout there, and we have to segue to the next one.
Oh hell yeah!
Okay, Pat, someone write this down.
Yeah, write that down. Write that down.
Write that down.
Yeah.
Well, because imagine with that, and we're gonna segue to our next set.
We just ruined the segue. We ruined the segue with our segue.
Yeah, and hop on it and head on over there.
Who would be the first to get injured on it though?
Me.
Oh no.
You? I think it would be me, man. I'm like, I don't know.
I think I would. I think I'd fall off at trying to get on. If I'm being honest, like I know myself. Like I think I would like it. I'd accidentally start it before I fully got on, and it would go horribly wrong. It would go horrible. I wouldn't even get on it.
We might need some helmets as well.
Helmets are the first investment.
I'm falling on ice every year, guaranteed. So I feel like it's got to be me too.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
Well, I feel like ice is a whole different game too. By the way,
and segways.
Yeah.
Isn't it the most embarrassing thing too when you guys fall?
When you eat shit?
You always do the look around, make sure no one's looking at you, and if somebody is, like, what's your go-to? I always go like, you know, that I shouldn't have been there.
We need.
What do you guys? It's like I do the quick run away.
I have a track record of crashing on scooters.
Oh my god!
I got hit by a car on a scooter, and I did exactly that. I knew it was my fault, so I told myself I hopped on a scooter once, and this was in Fells Point, and I left to Canton where I lived, right underneath the Natty Boat Tower, and I told myself, I'm holding the gas down the entire time.
What could go wrong?
Literally all gas, no brakes. Yeah.
I almost make it through the last corner through the Canton Square, and I see someone. I think they see me. They don't see me. They accelerate into me, maybe like 20 miles an hour, flat on my ass. And I knew it was my fault, so I was like, "Yo, let me get up and just get out of here. This is my bad." And someone really nice person came and picked me up.
They picked you up. That's
like,
dude, that's even worse.
And I was doing the Peter Griffin. And then they're like, no, get in the car. I was like, okay.
If you insist.
So I'm definitely the most likely.
That's all right.
Well, we're
segueing to.
Yeah.
We're learning.
I think we just unsegued the segue.
We like.
That was a tangent.
Hey, but that's where Keaton Mitchell.
Yep.
How about him? Hey, first touchdown for him, but he was not.
Hell yeah.
He was not the only Raven that had a day. Really, the Ravens had a day.
One of the most balanced Ravens teams that I think I've ever seen, ever. Like, as a Ravens fan, and you guys know as well, like it's just always been defense, and the offense just has always really kind of never been there. And then Lamar Jackson came in, and the defense was okay in that 2019 campaign, but it wasn't quite where they needed to be. And then this year just feels like defense looks like 2000 Ravens. Then we have this offense that we've never seen before. So like it just feels really, really good to be a Ravens fan. Ravens by a million.
Brad, when I said Ravens by a million, I met Ravens by $1 million. Dude,
I gotta be fired up.
It was special.
Yeah.
It was really special. It was funny. Early in that game, I was real dialed in, and it was back and forth, and I was like, man, the Seahawks are kind of good. And then we just started to absolutely dominate them in every phase of the game.
Yep.
And on defense especially, we got 4 guys up front pushing the line back. Our linebackers living in the backfield.
Lived.
And what's that guy's name? Oh, Geno Stone with another pick. Are you kidding me right now?
Hey,
I started laughing when I saw it.
Yeah.
Happen. I was like, no fucking way, man. This guy.
Unbelievable.
This fucking guy.
Hey,
He's so
and
good.
there's 3 things you can count on right now in life right now. And I tweeted it out. Death, taxes, and Geno Stone is going to have another interception. How many games in a row is that for
4.
Geno now? 4 straight games. He leads the league in interceptions. Honestly, what a great story. But then the team, you're right, Parker. This game it's like, okay, well, we're not getting going. They're not getting going. And then once the Ravens scored that first touchdown, it was just one after another. Now, the one blip that almost could have changed things right before the half, the Odell Beckham fumble, could have gone the other way, but that defense. I mean,
Van Noy.
Are you kidding me? Van Noy had a hell of a game.
Harbaugh called out the turning point of the game. The Van Noy strip sack and Broderick Washington falls on the ball, and then they go down and kick the field goal. Obviously, they wanted 6, but to set yourself up in that great a field position with that little time left on the clock and to be able to do that, kick a field goal, get points on the board before half.
Yeah.
That's what the Ravens needed right then and there. And it really did shift the momentum. Like the Ravens had the momentum, but like when Beckham fumbled that ball, first of all, he's got to do a better job of, not holding the ball out there like John Elway, just keeping it out like this. Like you got to tuck that thing in, and he should. But I feel like he knew that. He was beating himself up about it, and then that touchdown at the end. I mean, it was the icing on the cake of his birthday. So.
We'll dive into that in a little bit, but I think because we know how dominant this defense was, and we've seen it as Ravens fans, we've been watching this for a while, and I'd like to believe that we aren't being biased with it. We're just being subjective, and it's a fact. The Ravens defense right now is one, or we think it is the best unit in all football. They have dominated their opponents, specifically in Baltimore, 2 teams that are at the top of the NFC, and the Seahawks and the Lions. But Brad, I think we have a clip because even though we've been on board with this, there's been back and forth on ESPN about where they view the Ravens now. And I think a lot of people are jumping on this Ravens bandwagon.
Yeah. So there's a lot of backpedaling going on. Sarah Ellison put this up with Shannon Sharp talking about the Ravens, and Shannon was one of those guys along with Stephen A. talked about how, brought up questions as to whether or not the Ravens were getting their money's worth out of Lamar. And, obviously then, and this was after the Steelers game that there was 8 drop passes because that's Lamar's fault. But either way, so here's some comments by Shannon Sharp. And then on the other side of this, we can react to that. And then I also want to talk about the comments that Cal Van Noy made on the Pat McAfee show. So take a listen to this and we'll react on the other side.
They've beaten all 3 by a combined score of 103-12.
You know what? Cheating. That's the only thing I can think of. The Ravens are cheating. In this day and age, in this era, the Ravens are allowing 13 points a game. This is a pass-happy, throw the ball 250 million times a game, and they're allowing teams to have 13 points a game.
Yes.
Listen to this. The people that are watching at home, to give you better context, the last 2 games, the Ravens have outscored the last 2 opponents 75-9. Let that sink in. If you playing Madden and you play somebody twice, there's no way on a video game you outscoring your last 2 people that you played 75-9. Let alone do it in real life.
Yeah.
And Ravens
and Seattle's a good team. It's not like they're slouch. They play really good.
Yeah. So first of all, Chad Johnson has not played Madden because I can kick the shit out of any team I want 75-9.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
But get the sticks out.
Right?
Are we setting? Is that the next thing with NBA Jams?
Yeah, we'll have Madden in that corner.
Oh yeah, we'll have Madden.
I just want to say the sound quality of that clip is great, by the way. I really, I heard every single bit of
listen,
it. It was fantastic.
Listen, we're working. It's a work in progress. It's a work in progress. All right.
Did it play? Did you guys only hear it?
Yeah, it's late.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
couldn't-
yeah.
I can hear everything. It's my
Yeah, I was
show.
gonna say- Yeah. I was gonna say, as the person who sent in the clip, I knew what was being said, and I looked over and I was like, "Oh, they weren't hearing it."
It was mostly funny
what
just
is going on
watching
right
him
now?
show Cinco's face. He just looks like he should either be in like Men in Black or like he's like Frozone or something. He's a piece of work.
But
This guy's-
what he said is, when he talked about jokingly, the Ravens have to be cheating because in this day and age where the rules of football and the way it's played is meant to allow you to score as many points as possible. And for the Ravens to be allowing 13 points a game, that's ridiculous.
In this economy.
In this economy,
Yeah.
the audacity that they have in this economy to allow only 13 points a game. I mean, inflation has hit everything except the Ravens' defensive numbers.
Yeah. But again, it's funny hearing this, right? Because I love also the fact that Ocho Cinco is making a joke out of it, but it's also showing the ridiculousness of what this unit's doing.
Yeah.
And the fact that really, arguably, even the 2 games that the Ravens lost, the defense was still solid. You can say that, well, hey, they could have closed some games out. They had the chance. The Colts game was super sloppy, terrible weather game, a lot of things going on, obviously. And the Steelers game was another testament of, yes, the defense could have made a stop at the end of the game, but they were dominating. The Ravens were up 10-0 in the second quarter and didn't score a point the rest of the way. Now it is the defense is like, you know what? We're just not allowing anybody to score. Now I get it. The Cardinals, weird things transpired at the end of that game, especially if you bet the Ravens to cover that. I'm sorry. But what I love to see, and maybe you guys can tune in or react to this Ravens team, when it's against a high quality opponent, that is what you want to see where your barometer, where do they stand up against? The Ravens are doing what we talked about earlier. They are beating teams that are supposed to be towards the top. And they're not just beating them, dominating in every facet of the game.
Yeah, 100%. And one other thing that I wanted us to react to a little bit, obviously the defensive side of the ball has been lights out. We saw Kyle Van Noy have two sacks. One was a strip sack. Matabike also another sack in a row. What was that? Five games in a row with a sack. He's got 6.5 on the season.
I mean, just everyone in this defense is playing out of their mind.
Unbelievable. But Kyle Van Noy was on Pat McAfee show talking about the offense actually and Lamar Jackson's leadership. Take a listen.
Feels like one of the coolest dudes of all time. And now that you're there for 7 weeks, is that your belief as well?
LJ's cool as shit, man. I like LJ a lot. He's just been a real one. He's like who you want as a leader and the quarterback. Doesn't say too much, but he's really an amazing person and so fun to hang and chill with and crack jokes with. LJ's been great, and honestly, he's an awesome leader too. I don't think he gets enough credit of how good of a leader he is, and it doesn't always have to be the rah-rah speeches. It's his work and his work ethic, like in practice. He's very diligent. He always wants to do things the right way, and it's really infectious on the offense. I hope that's a word for the offense. And, he really is the leader of that offensive side. He just does it differently than you may seem as, the older school quarterbacks where they're rah-rah, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, you're a sackist. That's what your profession is, not an Englishian. So whenever you say infectious, it is not a problem at all on this particular program. But that doesn't get said much about him, how he's like a perfectionist and how it's like, because I got a chance to watch Peyton work and we're restarting if things aren't going well. Sounds like Lamar has that same type of thing, which is also not only leadership, but like accountability and understanding that he can do that and choosing to do that is a big deal. Never gets talked about with Lamar.
Yeah, I would say he's definitely a perfectionist, and you're totally right. He wants to get things right and do it at a high speed. And I've been really impressed to see him work and be able to work with a guy like that he just has this aura about him that is just awesome. It's just fun to be around and chill with them and be part of the gang. And, I'm excited for him. But, Pat, I'm not a sack. I'm just a golfer analyst that plays football.
All right. So, basically what the clip was highlighting was that, Lamar, is shown a lot of leadership, and really the one thing that I thought was that continued to get hammered home was that he's a perfectionist. As that clip was playing, it kind of blew my mind to think about how the Ravens have the number one defense in the league, and then potentially have yet another unanimous MVP on the other side of the ball.
No, I mean, it just shows the craziness, and I think shows why, like you've hit on, why you need to appreciate the 2023 Ravens, because we saw the offense do this in 2019, and we're starting to see we got the offensive show in 2019, but unlike 2019, this team is so complete on every side of the football. And it's no longer like in 2019 where, yeah, we could put up 35 points in the blink of an eye, but then we got to the playoffs and the defense was sort of struggling. And when the defense was struggling, the offense was sputtering and nothing seemed to help the other. Now with this team, it feels like every drive the offense helps the defense eat clock. You know, if they don't get a touchdown, they're pinning the opposing team, which one thing, punters deserve love. Jordan Stout is a stud. That man, I swear, every punt this man kicks, punts, every punt he punts, goes, they're sitting in the 10-yard line. And with this defense, that is as valuable as you can get. You know, if you have a punter that's shanking the ball every time and putting them on the 30, the 40, this defense, you know, gives up 20 yards. They're still giving up a field goal attempt. When you have this defense and you're pinning people back against the 3, against the 2, now the defense stops them. The offense has a short field come this way. And that's where I really see the biggest difference in this Ravens team is they all feed off each other. And it's just one continuous unit that just, that's how you one after the other. And then you look up and you're like, holy crap, we just beat the Seahawks 37-3.
I'll say props to Eric DaCosta for making the moves necessary, not in the offseason, but, you know, right up until the season and during the season.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the Ravens, the number one question last year was the receiving core. Okay, figure it out. They have the receivers they need or they want this season. The receivers haven't been bad. I don't think Lamar's spreading the ball around. So the guys aren't going to have eye-popping numbers, eye-popping stats, but he's spreading the ball around. And one game aside where they're dropping all those passes, it leads to a loss. They've been pretty solid. But to bring in Kyle Van Noy, to bring in Jadeveon Clowney, and to keep those guys, to keep a guy like Geno Stone here, they decided not to tender him, but they signed him to that one-year deal. Those are moves that maybe get overlooked in the offseason because you look at the draft and you're thinking, all right, need this big name guy. We need this Odell Beckham Jr. But the Kyle Van Noy signing was fantastic. The Jadeveon Clowney signing was fantastic. And those guys are producing at such a high level. And Kyle Van Noy was so funny. He had like one of the funniest press conferences I've ever seen. He was like, what training camp? Like basically, like we don't need it. Like we come in here, we do our job, and we're ready to grind. So like props to EDC for getting those contracts and getting those guys here. I know Ravens Flock was really beating the drum for both of those guys to come in here, and he's gotten it done. I mean, he's done a fantastic job. But the Ravens defense, Mike McDonald's unit, they are producing at such a high level. And for fans, this is Ravens football. This is the Ravens football that you're used to seeing.
Oh, yeah.
Might not necessarily be a high-powered offense all the time, but it has. I mean, the offense is scoring at such a high clip, but the defense to dominate their opponents, to make them just fear them week in and week out, because you know offensive coordinators are going to be having nightmares trying to deal with this team from here on out because they're only going to get better as the season goes on.
Yeah.
No doubt. Yeah, I was just thinking about like the turning point for me in that game, and I wrote it down. I was like things that I really hate, like Lamar Jackson strip fumbles.
Yeah.
Or sack fumbles. Like that sucked. The whole Seahawks D in our end zone doing the flock. I was like, in Baltimore, that's probably not the right move. And then the D comes out, responds. And
that was
like,
game.
This is our team.
Yeah.
And it bleeds leadership. And like you said, these pieces that we're getting, like everyone knows the Ravens is a good organization, but 10 years ago, if you had a Kyle Van Noy come to Baltimore from a New England, he's typically like getting a paycheck, going to a place where, all right, like, you know, might finish my career here or whatever, but missing New England, like he's getting, like Baltimore feels like they're replacing that with the level of coaching that we have. I mean, we have the best defense coordinator in the league. Yeah, like no doubt.
Yep.
Guy's 34 years old and he's dialing up plays. I remember this one play, they put someone in motion. We blitz off the edge and it's just like blew this play up. It's like these guys are
flying.
They're just like flying around. They're working together, and you know, you'd hate to say that one interview with a Roquan Smith and Ray Lewis talking about communication is like what we needed, but these guys are actually doing the things that these old Ravens are doing.
Yeah.
And clearly there's a line of communication there happening.
Yep.
And man, it feels like the old early 2000s Ravens that I mean they're coming off the field and like they're running the game. Like, they're coming off the field like hyped. Like and then we're not putting Kyle Buller out there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Big thing. This ain't 2006 no more.
We're putting Lamar Jackson out there, and like you said, like we've had the pieces at wide receiver. You know, Mark Andrews, stud, but we're working together now as a unit, and it's fun to see Zay Flowers get in space. It's fun to see Odell get involved. Whether he's fumble the ball or not. Like people want to see the ball flying around the field, and we're doing it.
Yeah.
Cool.
And Rocco, you talked about a lot of people giving EDC, you know, props and credit. Another guy that didn't even wait until the locker room to do it. I'll share this right now. This is right after the Keaton Mitchell, his 60-yard run. So Lamar Jackson was no longer in the game. And in this, Lamar finds Eric DaCosta on the sideline and tells him how much he appreciates him finding Keaton Mitchell. So it's moments like that that really kind of really put into perspective how special this team is. And moments like this where when do you see a quarterback find the general manager on the sideline during a game and go, hey, that was a hell of a signing. Like, way to find that. Like, that's where I see this team, and I'm like, yeah, everyone is firing on all cylinders, top to bottom.
This guy has to be up for executive of the year.
Has to.
He's got to be this year. Signing Lamar to a record contract at the time, doing what he's doing, like filling holes that this team needs. When players go down, it's like, all right, who do we got out there?
Yeah.
Who's on the tail end of their careers? It's not about the guys that are on the tail ends of their careers. It's like, who can we bring in and who's the best fit and who wants to play for us? And I think that's who they're finding, the perfect fits, plugging and play. You know, like, does this guy fit what it means to be a Raven first and foremost? Can they play football? Are they still talented? And like, they're checking all the boxes with these guys because like Jadeveon Clowney in Cleveland, he was like an afterthought. It was like, this dude was the former number 1 overall pick, one of the most dominant college football players at the time on the defensive side of the ball that we had ever seen. I mean, that play against Michigan where he popped that guy's helmet off and then recovered the fumble with one hand, it's one of the greatest college football plays ever. But to see Clowney now kind of revive his career in Baltimore, because it was kind of a downward spiral, or it was trending downwards in Cleveland. It could have been a product of his own environment, though, in Cleveland, though. You get to Baltimore, you're around winning football, a winning mentality. I mean, the juices are flowing for all these guys right now, and it's really cool to see.
The crazy part is that the Ravens haven't bet the farm on any of these guys. You know, like you saw with the Rams, right? Where the Rams just went all in on everything, and then screw the rest, screw with the next 10
they
years.
said screw the picks, right?
Right.
Snead, their GM, was wearing a shirt that said like F the picks or something like that.
That's what I'm saying. And so like, it's kind of like crazy good too, to be like, holy shit, like this could be a Super Bowl team. And then we could still be contending next year. Yeah. I don't think there's any way we keep this entire roster next year, just because there's so many big names and so much talent on this team to really think that we could keep them all. But man, like, it is definitely not a situation in which you're like, well, I hope we win this year because next year we're screwed.
Yeah, and I'll close with this and we'll wrap up and move on. So for a team to be good, and this is any sport, but we'll specifically here with football, you need other pieces that you were not expecting to come together and make plays. Keaton Mitchell for him. But so we're talked about, the Ravens didn't make a trade for a running back. You lose J.K. Dobbins, obviously, early in the season. Gus Edwards has played extremely well. Justice Hill has done his role, has done his part. And now you have Keaton Mitchell now that looks like he could be that little more of a boost for this offense. And this running game looks completely different. That's number one. Then you look on defense. You add the Van Noy. You had Clowney. Geno Stone has stepped up in big spots. When we went into the season, those guys were not on anyone's bingo card again. Like these were, again, afterthoughts. And then Justin Madubuike has become a superstar in the league right now.
He's a dog, yeah.
Let's not forget about Michael Pierce as well.
And people forgot about how dominant he can be when he was healthy because of his injury-plagued season last year. But what you're seeing is everyone's just thinking, well, the Ravens, well, you have Roquan. It's Lamar, Roquan, Marcus Williams, Patrick Queen's playing better. But then you forget about it's the whole product of what you have. And the Ravens are having so many players step up. It's not just one or two or three guys.
Yeah.
And that's what's making them so dominant is that their deficiencies are no longer there like other teams. Like there's no glaring holes. Credit to coaching, but credit to those guys at playing at such a fine level. And you brought it up, Parker, with the defense just looks like they're firing and they look fluid. Yeah. They look like they understand each other to a T.
Yeah, right. You know what's
Roquan Smith.
I've been on this pod for 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. We haven't even brought up Marlon Humphrey's name on the defense.
Right.
Like that,
when corners are playing well, you don't hear about them. And that's the definition of Marlon Humphrey.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, well, we hear about Geno Stone because he's grabbing the ball, but like
dog.
Like we're talking about Marlon Humphrey, who's been a staple on our defense, and like we're not even talking about him because
he's a dog.
He's dogging it.
Fellas, here's what spoke volumes to me watching the game and seeing it on the, from the press box on the sideline. It's you talk about all the plays they did make. Play they didn't make when Kyle Hamilton, he dropped what would have been an interception. He went over to the sideline and he started doing push-ups.
Yeah.
I thought that was, first of all, hilarious, but it's like, that's the mentality. And Kyle Van Noy, afterwards, he was like, he should have done push-ups. These guys care. They're so dialed in and they want to hold each other accountable and get the job done. So something as little or as funny as that, when it's, it looks like a joke, but that's really how these guys think and how they operate. And they are so focused on one goal and one goal only. And that's winning a Super Bowl this season. That's if they don't win a Super Bowl, this team will feel like they fell short. For sure.
Without a doubt.
For sure. But hey, right now, there's still a long way to go. You got half the season. There's so much more football that can be played. And hopefully the Ravens continue this momentum. But we'll talk about another Ravens rival that everyone thought early on that maybe this is the year the Bengals are going to fall off.
Dead and gone.
Hold on. Time out.
Such a great album.
Parker, you got to roll.
I do have to roll.
Okay.
I know this is poor form.
That's okay.
Poor form. Well, hey, that's why we have Brad behind the desk to make sure we don't miss, because I wasn't going to remember that.
Yeah,
I didn't even know about it.
Why don't you segue out of here?
Yeah.
Oh, this is why we need the segue.
Really, baby, let's go.
Oh, segue here would have been so
Unreal.
perfect. As always, energy through the roof for Parker.
Parker, appreciate you, man.
Well done.
Appreciate
Well
those
done.
shoes.
This is why we need the segue.
What a guy.
This is the exact moment.
It's all love up in here. ELE.
You get the content you get nowhere else with the Ryan Ripken show.
That's right.
Just can't. Well, hey, for those, before we keep talking with it, if you guys are new to the channel, thanks for joining. And if you've been here, again, appreciate all of you guys through this journey so far. A lot planned. We got a lot going on for this next week, especially talking about maybe another guest coming on. So stay tuned with that. We had Kyle Brad.
Not Rocco, though. The guest is not Rocco.
It's not Rocco. Rocco is whether he likes it, he's a part of this when he can, and that's the beauty.
When he's
of it.
not working out.
Yeah, when he's not working out. Look at those.
I hit legs today, guys. Relax.
Wow.
Oh,
Yes, for once.
Good.
Get made fun of for making legs. For hitting legs.
Well, you said you hit legs, but
I did.
I'm proud of you.
But everyone's giving you compliments for your upper body. But hey,
Thank you.
That's the true sign of someone who
I
works
don't-
out. Hit legs and everyone's complimenting the upper
Yeah,
body.
exactly. Thank you. I appreciate you guys gassing me up. Now I got to go to the gym tomorrow.
gas
Again.
Hey,
This is a lot of pressure now on Rocco.
you continue. Hey, you continue to build off of
Yeah.
what you're doing. You don't just stop. It's consistency. That would have been
Oh man.
terrible.
You know what's while Brad figures this out? Does he need help? Are you good, Brad?
Oh.
Oh, Woo.
This damn
We're
chair.
good.
I
Yep.
swear to God. I'm just standing up for now.
All right.
That
I'm
might have
not-
been the end
this-
of the Ryan
this
Ripken
chair-
show.
What's great
Yes,
about
it
the
would've-
fellas?
I'd have
like,
been so fucked. If you guys didn't see this, but like this chair got underneath of the table
Yeah, I
and
was
like
very-
jacked up the table,
Yeah,
and like
dude, it was
everything
like
almost
that
just went
scared
that
me.
way.
Oh, we saw that
I
part.
thought everything was gone.
suddenly the Ryan Ripken show almost went
yeah,
off air
exactly.
very fast.
I was gonna say what's great
It's
about
the
the
second
fellas
time that's happened
is
tonight. I don't know what the deal is.
when someone leaves, you don't say anything bad about them. What a guy!
What a
he is.
guy.
Yeah,
What a
it's
guy.
like we gas him up.
Yeah.
It's like in other friend groups, it could be like,
Hate that guy.
Hey, fuck you, guy.
Yeah, well, that's things.
Here- here's-
We're building each other up.
That's
It's
how
all
it is.
It's all
How it should be
positive
with every friend
vibes.
group.
Yeah.
You're not friends with someone until you talk bad about them to your face, like I do with you all the time. Behind
Yeah.
your back, I say, "Oh, he's such a good guy." Good
Oh yeah,
guy,
if we
good
don't
kid."
fuck with you, then like that,
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
exactly.
something's wrong.
That's how it
Yeah.
should be.
But like, I forgot this first time you met Parker. So
Yeah, he's a great guy.
By a million.
good dude.
By
Buy
a million.
We'll have those shirts
By a
out
million.
eventually here by a
Yeah.
million
You do
because it might be Ravens by a million. It's been fun. But again, what I was trying to say, new to the channel, please like, subscribe, enjoy this experience. And now that,
Yeah.
let's put that over
My
there.
dad texted me earlier. He's like, "I can barely hear you. You're not talking into the mic." I'm like, "All right, dude. It's called a shotgun mic." Yeah, shut up, Dad. How about you get a YouTube channal subscribe
And
to the show?
subscribe.
And
Instead of
subscribe.
Logging in as a guest and not doing anything. You're not helping us out at all.
Yeah.
Bum. Why don't you work for a living?
And
Jeez, Dad.
He's retired.
we didn't say it.
He's retired.
He
It's
did.
okay.
But it's okay then. But hey, well, speaking of all good vibes, at least with Baltimore, the vibes are continuing to get higher in Cincy. That's where we're leaving off.
Yes.
Cincy, which you thought early in the season, maybe this was going to be the year they're going to fall off. But then once again, for the second consecutive year, they have now seemed to have rounded into form. They beat the Bills yesterday, but it really felt like they were in control after that first quarter. The Bills did make it a little bit closer, but the Bengals kept them away for the majority of the game. The Bengals defense played extremely well. And here we are. The Bengals now are right on the cusp, and they're going to have a big game here in Baltimore in 2 weeks.
Should be fun.
Should be a lot of
Free
fun
at
here.
the bank.
So we'll find out more. And for the Bills, though, and it's been a continuing talking point.
Well, so real quick,
Mhm.
Ryan, I wanted to stick on the Bengals just for a moment because Bengals started the season 1-3, and if the playoffs ended today, we would all four teams of the AFC North would be
Every
in the
single
playoffs.
one. Nuts.
I hate it
You
here.
saw that stat. Obviously, you saw.
I know. It's
Obviously,
just,
as
it's
you
just
run.
like one of these things where you can't be. And this is the records. Here you go. 5-3 all across the board. The Ravens are 7-2, but it still seems like it's wide open. Except that the fact that the Steelers also seem like they're a very weak team still, but they're still finding ways to win. It's just absolutely
It's the
insane.
defense.
Like, why do we have to be fans of Baltimore sports? It's like you're either a fan of the Orioles, who are in the toughest division in the baseball in the AL East, or you're a fan and your team's in the AFC North. It's like you're screwed either way. But yeah, this is just like we talked about this, Ryan, in the beginning of the season. Everybody was kind of counting out the Steelers, and you could still probably count them out at some point, maybe. But the AFC North is still the best division in football. I think that we've seen that now that we're at the halfway point in the season.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. Yeah.
By
far.
far. Well, and that's the other part of it is that Cincy is reminding that they are still going to be in the Super Bowl contending phase. And people can, you mentioned with the Steelers, I'm not viewing Pittsburgh as a Super Bowl contender. And it's not because I don't think that they can be a playoff contender, because weird things happen in Pittsburgh, by the way. That Titans game, weird things happen. But if we're looking at the construction of the teams, the Steelers have a ridiculously good defense that can keep them in games, but it's going to come down to their offense. And obviously it's been well documented.
Those ridiculously tiny hands of Kenny Pickett.
Well, I guess Zach's been documenting that very closely.
Yeah.
But so Cleveland is in a similar situation, have a very tough defense. Deshaun Watson, he's going to have to play at a high level, but really the quarterbacks that people are talking about, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, and those defenses that are complementing the squad. So we'll see. But on the flip side, the Bills, this was supposed to be the team that was still supposed to be there with the Chiefs. And then the Bengals took that over. And then all of a sudden now the Bills just can't beat any big team. Their losses this year, they did beat the Dolphins, a team that has not still, guys, beaten a winning team this season. And then
407 days and counting. 407 days.
So the Bills,
Not that we're keeping track.
The Bills lost to the Patriots, which again, not a contending team. Woof for the Pats fans. But you lose to the Jaguars, a team that's going to be in the hunt. And then now you just lose a game to the Bengals, and the drum's going to beat louder. And then all of a sudden here, Brad, depending on what happens with this game tonight, the New York Jets, without Aaron Rodgers, with their team still trying to find a way,
feisty,
would have more wins against teams with winning opponents, regardless of the outcome tonight, because the Chargers don't have a winning record. But they would be a half game out of first behind the Miami Dolphins.
How about them? Jets.
How about them? Jets,
Jets.
See Rodgers walking in today.
Fly, Eagles,
without
fly.
crutches?
Yeah. What is going on with Rodgers'
He's probably got a
development?
brace on, but to be
Black
walking,
magic.
If you do a brace for the Achilles? Like, do you? It
I
might
don't
be a
think-
stupid question.
I
know
think you
a brace
do.
for
I
the
think it's a boot.
ACL.
It's a boot,
But
right?
do you
Yeah, it's
do-
got to be a boot.
Well,
There's
whatever's
That's
happening.
like he didn't look like he had a boot on at all, and he
No.
wasn't walking with crutches. So like, whatever he's doing, I have no clue what it is. Like,
it's scary.
it's progress and it's scary because I feel like this is a guy that I'm not saying he's going to play a game this season, but it seems like a guy that's determined to play at least one more regular season game or if
Yeah.
they get to the playoffs, be ready for the postseason. And if he does, that would be like a miracle. I mean, I wouldn't say miracle, but that would be really incredible.
So here's the thing: the Jets will play after tonight. They'll play Vegas, then they'll play Buffalo, which they could win that game.
Yeah.
Then Miami, they could also win that game. Atlanta, Houston, Miami again, Washington, Cleveland, and New England to round out the rest of the season. This team could go eight wins easy without Rodgers. Then Rodgers comes back and especially if Rodgers comes back and he's fully healthy.
He's just got to be better than Zach Wilson.
Well, that's just it.
Yeah.
And you know, the Jets defense is definitely an underrated defense that I don't think a lot of people talk enough about just because of how the Jets started off the season. But I mean, winning record, and I think that they have all the opportunities to win tonight, and they could win the next stretch of 3 or 4 games.
Well, and that's what they're going to have to right now. They're struggling at the moment here, and it made me realize I wish I started the Chargers defense. Lost a tough in my league at home. A lot of bragging rights on it.
I need Keenan Allen to not do anything tonight.
Well, stay tuned on that. Chargers are up 7-0 driving. The Jets already had a turnover at a punt return that Zach alluded to. But yeah, the reality is I don't think anyone thought at this point in the season, 9-10 games in, that the Jets would still be in contention for not the playoffs maybe, but the division.
I think the night Rodgers went down and we were at Lee's watching the game, and Brad, and probably all of America was like, the Jets are screwed.
That's
like,
their
there's no
season.
chance.
It's
Their
done.
season's over when Zach Wilson came in the game. And the fact that they've held on and maintained relevancy 9 games into the season, that's an accomplishment in itself.
And they're going to be in the playoff hunt. I am disappointed because I do believe next week we have to watch the primetime game between the Jets and the Raiders. You know what? Hey, vibes are high in Vegas right now, and maybe that's a good segue. That McDaniels gets fired, and you would have felt like this victory was a Super Bowl victory because they were. I mean, Brad, you might say they weren't cigars, but they were lighting it up in there.
They were Swisher Sweets at best.
Okay.
We got some.
Well, regardless,
You got footage of that?
Do we? I can pull it up.
Oh, yeah, you pull it up.
But anyway, that huge win for Vegas in that sense, a team that's trying to find their identity. They're happier than they were. On the flip side for the Giants, though, by the way, Daniel Jones comes back from his injury, tears his ACL, and that is unfortunately his season. And just what happened to the Giants this season type of moment. Everything that's going wrong is going wrong. They're not playing clean football.
Here we go.
There it is.
I mean, could vibes get better in a locker room after we had Hunter Renfro? It almost had to put out a wellness check on him to see if he was still alive the way they weren't using this man.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden he comes out and he's a part of the offense again. It's crazy. It's almost like when they use the talent that they have, it leads to winning football games.
This locker room, though, this locker room does look dope. Show that clip again. That locker room looks dope as shit.
Are we comparing the locker rooms now?
No, I'm just saying that
saying
like
dope.
that.
Oh yeah, no.
The locker room itself just look at the lighting, like some big ass
Yeah, I would
TVs.
go there.
I've been in the Ravens locker room. It does not look like that.
No.
And it's not. And you know Rocco too. You've obviously been in there, but like it's that locker room in Vegas looks ridiculous.
Let me see it. You have it.
Yep. Here you go.
I saw the video, but I can't remember what the locker room looks like. Oh yeah, they have the lights. Well, you have to factor in it's a brand new stadium too.
Well, yeah, I'm not
Like,
saying
that's
that. I'm
like
just saying that like it's like
State of the art. No. I'm saying
ridiculous.
that's a good point though on your end. Like yeah, like I haven't. That's not even close to what the Ravens locker room looks like. Nothing against M&T Bank Stadium, the locker room. The locker room's there for two things: before the game, after the game, you're done.
Yeah.
So
Vegas
smoke victory cigars in it.
Vegas is doing it different. Hey, look, talking about trying to change a culture for the Raiders, I believe they haven't had a postseason win since, was it their Super Bowl run to the Super Bowl against Tampa Bay, or was it 2003 the next year, or whatever it may be? Regardless, what we do know, the last few years in Vegas have been really brutal. The whole John Gruden situation, then you have Josh McDaniels. It's a lot of money that you were going to invest in coaches to not having the product on the field. And the Raiders now, it just felt like for the first time, was the most energy that I'd seen at Vegas, minus that game against Ravens-Raiders that opened the season on Monday night coming out of COVID. Besides that moment, that game was probably the most energetic I had felt for Vegas players. Now, Devontae Adams still needs to learn how to be used more. Jacoby Myers, now I think officially has more fantasy points than Devontae Adams.
Jacoby Myers gets used an absurd amount in that offense. And I don't know if it's that they know Devontae Adams is going to be double teamed or have more coverage on him. But every single time I look up, Jacoby Myers is getting the football in Vegas. And I don't want to say it makes me upset because, like, good for Jacoby Myers. But, each week you go into it and you look at the Raiders and you look at Devontae Adams' stats and it's mind-boggling. You're like, why are we not using him? Can we keep the phone silent?
Yeah. What are we doing?
I was trying to pull up what was going on, and Siri asked if everything was okay.
Did you tell Siri that everything is okay? You're good?
She's concerned.
Okay.
Thanks
Concerned about the Ryan Ripken show, and they heard about segways and helmets and what was going to happen
Maybe
next.
getting Segway and helmet ads on Instagram.
That would be
Facebook and
great.
everything
But
else.
hey, as great as the vibes, besides Devontae Adams, still that whole not being used, Jacoby Myers is a great player too. That's not that. But again, you want to use your pieces appropriately, and hopefully Renfro will be used more. Jacoby, and that should hopefully help Devontae Adams in the long run. He does so much for the team. Well, on the flip side, Daniel Jones, I mentioned it. He's out. He's done. A guy that missed the last few games with a neck issue. Now he's done for the season, plus a guy that just signed a big contract. The Giants now, their season has been over for a while. It's even more validated now. Saquon Barkley, which again, he didn't want to get traded, but really it feels like he's just going to rot and lose another season instead of having a chance to help a contender. He'll be a free agent if he wants to stay, or could be franchise.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we're going to see that old franchise tag is going to be working on Saquon Barkley again this year.
So just so many different storylines that, makes you think, hey, it could be worse. You could be a Giants fan right now where things are tough, but the Jets, it is rough right now. 14-0 Chargers over the Jets as we speak. Again, that Chargers defense is, maybe they're about to turn it around, Brad. I don't know, but
I don't care. Keenan Allen only has 1 point so far, so
of course Austin
happy
Eckler
about
scored.
that.
Okay, we lost fantasy. I needed Austin Eckler to not show up to the stadium today. He showed up in the end zone already.
He showed up.
Not going well.
He showed up. Hey, I think we're running for time here, but Brad, any other things we wanted to just touch on quickly?
Let's touch real quick on the Dolphins and Chiefs game. Just I wanted to bring up one comment that or I guess interview that was post game with Patrick Mahomes talking about
let's talk about
about Patrick Mahomes saying that he thinks that his defense is the best in the league. Take a listen.
Best defense that you've had as a Chief? I think it's the best defense in the NFL. So I mean, if we have a defense like that, we're going to get this offense figured out. I promise you. And then we're going to be a hard team to beat.
So for me, They're not the best defense in the league. I know that Patrick Mahomes has to say that because he's the quarterback of that team, and I totally respect that. But there's no way that they are the best team in the league. And the other thing is, on the tail end of that I don't think a lot of people are talking about is that he said that we'll get the offense right. We're in week 9, and they still don't look put together. I just don't know at what point they do look put together. I don't think that it's the Chiefs' year this year. I could be wrong. We've said that about the Patriots in the past as far as that dynasty is concerned. So I guess you should never rule them out. They are 7-2 after all. But when you take a look at their schedule and the teams that they've played and how Patrick Mahomes and that offense has performed, they go up against a team like the Ravens or even I would say even the Browns, some of the other tougher defenses, the Eagles. I don't think that Patrick Mahomes is going to have a good day against any of those teams, and that Chiefs could end up losing that game as a result.
Man, I will say this. I think the Ravens have the best defense, but the Chiefs, I will never count out the Chiefs until they are no longer in the dance. And the fact I do believe in Patrick Mahomes. When they say they're going to figure out on offense, it might be ugly. I think they're going to figure it out. And I think that they are still, as great as the Ravens are, I think the Chiefs still have to be the AFC favorites until further notice. I mean, we're seeing Patrick Mahomes not play his best ball, and the Chiefs are still beating teams. And I think that's scary. And they did that Jacksonville win even looks better for them because the Jaguars seem to be surging at the right point.
Yeah. I think the difference between the Chiefs defense and the Ravens defense, and it's like kind of one of those things where it's like there's levels to this. The Chiefs defense is being compared to other good defenses in the NFL right now. The Ravens defense is being compared to some of the greatest defenses of all time.
Correct.
And so, yeah, like you said, Brad, what's Patrick Mahomes going to say? He's not going to go, well, I mean, we're not figuring out on offense, but, our defense could at least pick up some of the slack. No, defense is playing well. He's going to hype them up, hype his boys up, keep vibes going in the right direction. Because like you said, until they're out of it, I will not count out the Kansas City Chiefs. They are the team to beat in the AFC until proven not. But it's blasphemous.
No, I absolutely
even put that in the same sentence.
I agree. And to your point about guys saying their defenses are the best in the league, you're going to see that a lot.
Yeah.
Like the Bills would probably say that about their defense. The Chiefs are going to say that about their defense. The Bengals would probably say it about their
Jets,
defense.
Everyone's going to.
The only difference is when the Ravens say it, it's the truth.
And their stats to back it up.
Bias or anything. Like Justin Madubuike was saying that I do believe this group's the best defense in the league. And he said, I believe the scoreboard's showing it. I believe stopping the run showing it. The sacks are showing it. They have, you want to cite your examples, works cited and not use Wikipedia, we all do for our essays and stuff, even though the teachers tell us not to do it. The Ravens have the numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, top to bottom right now. And that Cardinals game is kind of an outlier, and they said it afterwards. We did not play to our standard. That's not the standard of Ravens football. Roquan especially said that. What we just saw on Sunday, that is the standard of Ravens football. That is a standard that this unit wants to set each and every week, and I'm sure we're going to see a few more performances like that going forward.
Next week?
Yeah. Next week's going to be big, I'll say this.
Next
Brad.
week, hold on. Next week, the Chiefs play the Eagles.
Yeah.
The Chiefs play the Eagles.
Well, are they on a bye or are they playing next week?
The 20th. Sorry, they're on a bye. So the next game that the Chiefs play will be against the Eagles on November 20th.
Woo.
That's the
that'll be that. So I understand everybody's point, but for me, that'll be like if the Chiefs can go in and beat the Eagles, they're at Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So they can go in Philadelphia and win that game. Then I will start to change my tune. But if they go in and play like they did against Denver or even against Miami, forget about it. The Chiefs are not going to be that team deep into the playoffs. I just don't see it.
I agree with you. I think that's a fair point. Exactly. That's going to be a test next week against the Eagles because that's a game Eagles fans have had circled on the calendar since they lost in the Super Bowl. And if you think that Jalen Hurts hasn't been thinking about that game,
right,
and he isn't thinking about putting up 3 or 4 or 5 touchdown performance against the Chiefs, I mean,
would you say that the pressure's on the Eagles in that game? Which is weird. Because, like you're saying, they've had it circled for all this time. And I think for the Chiefs going into it, they're going to be more focused on trying to right the ship, their own stuff. Whereas I could see the Chiefs winning this because almost the Eagles put too much pressure on themselves, like you're saying, where it's like they've built it up to this massive game.
Yeah.
Where it'll be interesting to see what the energy's like if it's matched by both teams.
I think it'll depend. And Brad, you could touch on this more, but like if you look at the game they just played against the Cowboys, that's the game that everyone gets hyped about. Especially at Lincoln Financial Field. Like that's the game everyone gets up for. The fan base, the players, everyone. It's like F Dallas week. Dallas sucks. We hate Dallas. All about that. Like now, it's like if I'm hoping for the Eagles, for their sake, that they didn't not necessarily put all their eggs in one basket, but they're not overlooking this game. You know, it's the next game up mentality. They don't have a game to look ahead to, is what I'm saying. But like looking at that game, you used all your energy in that game, and going forward against the Chiefs, you're like mentally like you just. But I think I'm telling you, I think this isn't the Eagles Super Bowl, but it's like I feel like it's pretty damn close. As far as a game like this.
Well, I'd say the Chiefs. I don't think any pressure is going to be on the Chiefs unless they have a losing streak or they're really out of it, because everyone's gonna, until that they're out. I know I'm saying it again. They just,
as long as Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback,
you feel like something crazy can happen. But also, I will say they've had the luxury of those games going through Kansas City and having the chance, so that helps. Now, if the Chiefs are not going to have it run through Kansas City, I think that can start to have a little bit of a different question. But for that game specifically, I think Philly's going to is going to trying to be out to prove more. And if they lose that game, it's going to bring some more frustrations upon, especially Philly's got a really tough schedule down the stretch.
Yeah, they really do.
So, Brad, is that all we got?
We have other stuff, but we can cover that on Thursday. None of the other things were all that pressing, but great show tonight, guys.
Yeah, we had a lot. Hey, great show. Hey, Rock, thanks for coming back, man. Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Nice. Parker was here.
Take time out of his working out to
Dude, I'm off on Mondays and Tuesdays, so it's like the weird that weird schedule with that. So this is like a nice, enjoyable off day. Work tomorrow though, so this is like I'm just happy to be here with you guys.
Just happy to be here.
Happy
I'm just
to
along
be here.
for the ride.
How about
fellas.
that?
Well, hey, we're happy everyone that joined us tonight. We're happy you were here with us. We have a lot planned coming up. We'll be back on Thursday night live. Again, have a guest that we believe you guys would have interest in. Again, in Baltimore, you guys can start to think and
you might know. You've probably heard the name.
I've heard of him. Spent some time with him.
Yeah.
But hey, on the way out, if you guys don't mind liking, subscribing to the channel, as always, it would mean a lot to us. We're continuing to grow, and then we have a lot of things planned moving in. We talked about that Ravens-Bengals game in a couple of weeks. We're going to be talking about what we're going to have in store leading up to that. So stay tuned. Brad, is that it?
That's it, my man.
All right, guys.
Thanks, guys.
You guys have a great rest of your night.
We did it.
We did it.
Hold me now. I'm 6 feet from the edge and I'm